I, 36M, honestly never thought I'd be that guy posting in a relationship subreddit. But here I am. Maybe someone out there needs to read this the way I needed to hear something like this a year ago. Maybe you'll just get a crazy story out of it. Either way, buckle up. Let's rewind to about 18 months ago. I'd been married to Claire, 34F, for just over 6 years. No kids, but we had what I thought was a stable, happy marriage. She was a graphic designer who worked remotely, which gave her a ton of flexibility. I work in software engineering and keep pretty structured hours, so it made sense that she was always the more spontaneous one, taking short trips or meeting up with friends midweek. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. Dumb, I know. The first weird thing? She came home one night buzzing with excitement, saying she had just bumped into Tom Cruise at some pop-up film event downtown. Totally random, supposedly unannounced. He's shorter than you'd think, she said, practically vibrating with energy. She had no photo, said it was a no-phones event. Whatever. I chuckled and let it go. Claire had always been a bit dramatic, so this just seemed like one of her weird little exaggerations. But then she kept bringing it up. Tom said this. Tom looked me right in the eyes. Tom's presence is electric. Tom, F asterisk 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 ing Tom. It got to the point where I asked, semi-jokingly, "You didn't sleep with the guy, did you?" She laughed. Hard. Too hard. Then got defensive. Don't be ridiculous. Do you think he'd even look at me? Well, now I'm wondering. That's when my radar went up. Something wasn't adding up, but I still had no idea how deep this hole went. So yeah, after that weird night with the over-the-top Tom Cruise story and her awkwardly intense reaction to my joke, I started paying closer attention. I wasn't snooping, not yet, but I wasn't letting things slide either. Claire suddenly had more events to go to. Networking things, she said. Film people. Apparently this accidental meeting with Tom Cruise had opened doors, and she was now tapped into a whole new creative circle. She even floated the idea of going to LA for a few days to follow up on some connections. Here's the thing. Claire's never worked in film. Ever. Not even tangentially. Her portfolio was mostly logos for yoga studios and wedding invitations. I asked, gently, how she went from drawing monograms to rubbing elbows with Hollywood's elite. She gave me this smirk, like I was the dumb one, and said, "You just don't get how these things work." I let her go to LA. I regret that. While she was gone, I couldn't sleep. I kept going over our last few months together. Every lie I hadn't noticed. All the inconsistencies that only now were starting to snap into place. I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband who checks his wife's stuff. But that night, I opened her laptop. I know. I'm not proud of it. But I had a bad feeling. The moment it booted up, I saw a folder on her desktop labeled TC. Just TC. I clicked it. Inside? Screenshots. Messages. Some blurry selfies of Claire in what looked like a hotel room. And a Zoom recording file named meeting_with_Tom_Cruise.mp4. But here's the kicker. It wasn't Tom Cruise. It was a guy named Nate. So yeah, this TC wasn't Tom Cruise. It was Nate Callahan, a 42-year-old visionary director type from Santa Monica with a LinkedIn that screamed wannabe. The Zoom recording? It was him and Claire, laughing, flirting, and very clearly planning a meetup. Nothing outright sexual in that video, but the tone was way off for two people who'd just met at an event. I dug deeper. Gmail. She hadn't logged out. There were emails back and forth between them going back months. Not just one trip to LA, 3. She'd even sent him money through PayPal. The subject line? For the weekend suite. Suite. Not hotel room. Suite. And get this. She sent him one of the wedding invitation designs she made. Not for a client. For us. She said, "I wanted you to see what my old life looked like. Don't laugh." He responded, "You're meant for more than that suburban shit." She replied, "I know. I feel that more every day." It was like a gut punch. My wife, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, was calling our life suburban shit. Talking to some low-rent film school failure like he was her escape route. I couldn't move. Just sat there, staring at the screen while my ears rang. I wanted to call her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to destroy something. But instead, I closed the laptop and went into the garage. Just stood there for an hour, staring at the car we both picked out together and wondering if she ever really wanted this life, or just settled for it. That night was the first time I cried in probably 5 years. And I'm not even ashamed to admit that anymore. Claire got back from LA 2 days later, strutting through the front door like she'd just nailed an audition for the role of a lifetime. Hair freshly done. Wearing new boots I didn't recognize, probably bought with our joint card. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing had happened. "You wouldn't believe the people I met," she said, dropping her bag in the hallway. It was magical. Yeah, magical. Like a Disney movie, if Disney movies involved cheating on your husband with a wannabe film director in a hotel suite. I didn't say anything right away. I just watched her. It was weird. Seeing someone you thought you knew lying right to your face, with no shame at all. It was like looking at a stranger in your house, wearing your wife's skin. I waited until we'd finished dinner. Yeah, I even sat through a meal with her before I said it. "So how's Nate?" Her fork stopped midair. "What? Nate Callahan. You know TC. The guy who thinks our life is suburban shit." The silence that followed? It was suffocating. She blinked, looked down, then back up at me with that rehearsed innocence she always used when caught in a lie. "Oh my God, you went through my laptop? That's a huge invasion of privacy." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me explain." Just that. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. "That's your response? You've been sneaking off to hook up with some mid-tier hipster with a camera and a god complex, and you're mad that I opened a folder on your desktop?" And then came the gaslighting. "It wasn't like that. He's just a friend. You're blowing this out of proportion. I needed someone to talk to who actually supports my dreams." Her dreams. Right. Her dream apparently involved rewriting her life story, erasing me from it, and recasting herself as some edgy muse to a fake director. That's when I decided I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to document everything and play the long game. Because this story? It wasn't just about cheating. It was about a woman building a whole second life behind my back. And I was just getting started. So at this point, I knew two things for sure. My wife was having some kind of emotional, if not physical, affair. She was lying straight to my face and expected me to feel bad for catching her. But I wasn't going to give her the meltdown she wanted. Nope. I went cold. Calm. I said, "We'll talk tomorrow," and went to sleep in the guest room. Didn't even lock the door. I wanted her to stew in her thoughts, wondering how much I knew. And that night, I backed up everything. I copied the Zoom video, the emails, the messages, the payment receipts. Even exported a chat log she had opened in Slack, of all places. Apparently she and Nate were on some weird indie film team together. There was a thread where he said, "Once you're free, we'll go to France. You and me. New passports, new names. Start over." She sent back, "I'm so close. I just have to untangle everything without making him suspicious." Him meaning me. I was stunned. France? New passports? This wasn't some dumb affair, this was a plot. A cartoon villain-level scheme. She wasn't just escaping the marriage. She was trying to erase the whole damn life we'd built. And she thought I was too stupid or too docile to notice. The next day, she was making smoothies like it was a yoga retreat. I sat across from her and calmly asked, "So, when were you going to tell me about your plan to flee the country?" She dropped the blender lid and just froze, staring at me like a raccoon caught rifling through trash. "What are you talking about?" I showed her the Slack printout. Her face drained. Pale. Guilty. Then came the performance. Tears. I didn't mean it. Deflection. It was just a fantasy. Blame. "You don't make me feel alive anymore." Classic. I told her, flatly, "I'm not stopping you. Go. Run off with Nate. But I'm taking everything you've left behind, including the truth." That's when she panicked and started trying to save herself in the most pathetic way. After I told her I wasn't stopping her and that I was keeping the receipts, literal and emotional, the switch flipped. Claire went from crocodile tears to full-blown manipulation mode in less than 90 seconds. "You're twisting everything," she said, voice trembling. "You're trying to trap me. You always do this when I start finding myself." Finding herself? Lady, you were halfway to an international identity swap with a broke film bro who wears a scarf indoors. She tried to twist it into a self-help narrative, like I was the controlling one. She even threw in therapy buzzwords, emotional suppression, stifled creativity, narcissistic partnership. I honestly think she Googled that crap between the blender incident and our talk. Then came the real kicker. She said, "Well, maybe if you hadn't given up on your dreams, I wouldn't have had to look for someone who still had ambition." I just stared at her. I wanted to feel angry, but honestly, it was like watching a bad actress deliver her final monologue in a play that should have closed in Act 1. "You mean my suburban shit life?" I asked. The one you built with me? She didn't answer, just stood there blinking, like I was speaking Morse code. So I got up, grabbed my laptop, and walked out of the room. She followed me, rambling about, we can work through this. It was just talk. And I never actually slept with him. Oh, that's definitely not what Nate thinks based on his emails. Then she pulled the oldest, dirtiest trick in the book. I think I might be pregnant. Let me tell you something. I've seen bad lies. I've heard high schoolers make up better excuses for missed homework. But this was laughable. We'd barely touched each other in months. And she knew that. She was just trying to lock me in. Emotionally, financially, legally. I looked her dead in the eye and said, great. We'll do a paternity test. Her face glitched, like she hadn't planned for that answer. That's when I knew she wasn't just lying to me anymore. She was lying to herself. The next morning, I made 2 phone calls. One to a lawyer, one to my buddy Marcus, who works in private IT security. No more playing husband of the year. No more giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'd spent the last 6 years loving this woman, supporting her Etsy candle shop, her freelance design studio, her countless half-finished passion projects. And this is how she repaid me, by planning a damn disappearance with some leather-jacketed clown named Nate, who once shot a Vimeo short that got 13 views. My lawyer didn't even flinch when I explained the Slack messages and travel records. Seen worse, she said. We started drafting separation paperwork that day, and I requested a full forensic review of our shared finances. Meanwhile, Marcus came through big time. I asked him if he could recover deleted texts from her phone backups. He nodded like a man who'd seen everything. A few hours later, he handed me a USB and said, "You sure you want to see all this?" Spoiler, I wasn't. But I plugged it in anyway. There were texts between Claire and Nate that were way more explicit than I expected. They'd been hooking up since before our anniversary trip to Maine last year. She even sent him a picture in my hoodie, the one my mom got me for Christmas, captioned, "Wearing this around him makes me feel so dirty, smiling face with horns." There were messages where she referred to me as the ATM, and in one, Nate joked about slipping me sleeping pills to get alone time. She laughed and replied, "Don't tempt me," face with ears of joy. I sat there, gripping the USB so hard I nearly snapped it. This wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty. And worst of all, she still thought I didn't know everything. So I did what any man with a bruised ego and a mountain of receipts would do. I emailed Nate. Just a little message titled, "Hey, Director." Attached were screenshots, flight logs, a copy of the Slack thread, and my favorite, a gif of Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible saying, "I'm gonna enjoy this." Within an hour, Nate blocked Claire on everything. Poof. Gone. Guess he wasn't ready for a co-starring role in the drama he helped write. I knew it was only a matter of time before the fallout started. But I didn't expect it to hit that fast. Claire found out Nate ghosted her the next morning. She stormed into my office. Yes, my office, in my house, phone in hand, screaming, "What the hell did you do?" I didn't even look up. Just calmly sipped my coffee and said, "Guess he didn't like plot twists." She started ranting, pacing, saying things like, "You ruined everything." And he was the only one who understood me. Like she was in a bad soap opera. Then came the spin. "This is emotional abuse, you know. You're manipulating me, turning him against me." I cut her off. "Claire, he blocked you. I didn't force him to see the truth. I just gave him your words." And that's when the unraveling truly began. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing like a teenager who just found out Coachella was canceled. Started whispering things like, "I gave up so much for him, and he said we'd live in Italy." Italy? I thought we were still stuck on France. Apparently her fantasy geography was expanding. Then she made a last-ditch effort to get me back on the hook. Said she was ready to fight for us. That she'd cut off all contact, go to counseling, focus on our marriage. It was all so transparent. I could see right through it. She wasn't sorry. She was stranded. But I let her talk. Nodded occasionally. Told her I'd think about it. Why? Because I needed her calm while my lawyer finalized the paperwork and the forensic accountant finished going through our joint finances. Oh, and speaking of finances, we found out she'd secretly drained $11,700 from our savings over the past 9 months and funneled it into a creative development fund, aka her and Nate's escape plan. She tried to claim it was investment capital. I said, "For what? A passport and a tripod?" That's when I knew 100% I was done. I was done with the lies, the gaslighting, the manipulation, and the desperate theater. I timed it perfectly. It was a Saturday morning. Claire had gone to her usual yoga class, the one where she pretended she was working on her center, while gossiping with people who definitely didn't know she was plotting an international love fraud escape. I waited until she was mid-downward dog, then had the paperwork delivered to the studio. Yep, I served her divorce papers right between warrior pose and child's pose. Poetic, honestly. I was sipping coffee on the porch when she came home, red-faced, shaking, clutching the envelope like it was radioactive. "You humiliated me," she said, voice low and venomous. "Good," I said. "Now we're even." She tried to pull the "I thought we were going to work on things" card. I told her, "You thought wrong." I reminded her of the $11,000 she embezzled from our account, the fake pregnancy, the Nate passport fantasy, the fact that she referred to me as an ATM in a group chat, and the part where she planned to flee the country like she was Carmen Sandiego. She switched tactics again, rage this time. "You'll regret this. Everyone's going to know what kind of man you really are." And just like that, she ran to social media. By noon, I was tagged in a cryptic Facebook post with a photo of her looking sad in front of a window, probably staged 5 minutes before, and the caption, "Some people pretend to be heroes. Some of us just survive monsters." Hashtag healing, hashtag starting over, hashtag narcissistic abuse awareness. The comments were full of her yoga friends saying, "You're so strong, flexed biceps," and "He didn't deserve you, crying faced." I didn't respond, but I did screenshot everything. She kept going too. Started posting passive-aggressive Instagram stories, vague tweets like, "Funny how the people who gaslight you always think they're the victims," and even tried to write a Medium post, which she deleted after it got like 3 views and a typo in the headline. But the cherry on top? She told her parents that I cheated on her. I got a call from her dad, confused and trying to keep it civil. "Son, I don't know what's going on, but Claire's really hurting." I said, "Check your email." He did. I heard silence on the other end for a solid 30 seconds. Then he cleared his throat and said, I had no idea." "Neither did I," said. "Until I did."